and welcome back to Game & Muscle videos. In this video we're jumping into Rfactor 2 after somewhat of a break from the simulator to check out the absolutely superb recently released Caterham 7 Classic 1.4 litre K-Series mod. It's basically a stock Caterham as raced in the Caterham Cup Series in the United Kingdom, and you can grab this car by using the Steam Workshop. That was the word I was looking for. It's available on the Steam Workshop, and of course Rfactor 2 a couple of months back now integrated the Steam Workshop into the simulator, making grabbing mods like this. And the tracks, we're on Alton Park, which is a mod track. Really simple, you just subscribe to it and there you go, it keeps itself up to date. So this Caterham 7 Classic 1.4 litre car came out 3 or 4 days ago, and it had been nagging at me to give it a try because the Caterham as a car is one of my favourite cars in terms of it being a really purist driver car. No assists, no bollocks, gimmicky nonsense. It doesn't even look particularly nice. I'm sure you could pick up the ladies in it, although it doesn't really obscure your face, so in my case I'd have to wear like a balaclava or maybe just a helmet. That said, regardless of if you like or dislike the shape of the Caterham, the mod team that have put this car together have done a fantastic job of capturing the real world car and implementing it in the simulator. The details are all there. It doesn't seem to have anything missing that I can notice. I've not gone over it with a magnifying glass, and unfortunately Rfactor 2 doesn't have VR, so I can't fully appreciate the solidity and three-dimensionality of it. But in 2D, and just looking around the car with in-game cameras, it looks pretty much identical to the visual appearance of the real-world Caterham. But visuals aside, and they've done a good job there, the key and the point of a Caterham and why I get excited by it is of course how it handles. As I said earlier, it's literally a drag your testicles along the tarmac type car. It's to the point, there's nothing in the way, it's really pure. It's as if you've got a Skip Barber, for example, raised it off the ground a little bit, though I don't know if it is actually raised off the ground compared to Skip Barber, it feels like it is, and then given it a more powerful engine and just made it a little bit more ludicrous. A Skip Barber is a bit like a toddler that's sort of laboured and can kind of walk a bit, but you know, hasn't quite got there. And this is like an alcoholic granddad. Where this car really shines is just how responsive it is to small, precise inputs, be that inputs through the steering wheel or inputs through the throttle and brake. You can definitely decide to drive it through the steering wheel or through the pedals. And I think for me, having that choice there is what really defines a good car over an average car. Cars that you can choose between the throttle or pedal input and just sort of alternate between those methods of input or combine them at a whim depending on what you feel like are generally the most exciting or most enjoyable cars to drive because you always feel like you're in control of them. Now, where this car is really precise, and I think this is one thing that Rfactor 2 does especially well, even relative to other simulators, is the subtleties, especially under the limit, and how you can place the car under the limit, and then the sort of road texture and the force feedback feel under the limit. Like you'll be going into a corner and you'll sort of turn the wheel gradually, and you'll very easily be able to feel that subtle give and movement of the car as you navigate it around the track. And this is particularly noticeable when you're going into higher speed corners, when you're trying to load the car up a bit and move it a bit on its suspension, and that works really well with this vehicle. When it comes to driving the car badly and ragging it, throwing it around, again, you've got a surprising amount of control and a surprising amount of controllable slip angle. At lower speeds, and if you get into tank slappers, it gets really tricky, and often it's a bit of a puzzle to work out how to collect it. But in most race situations, when you're actually at moderate speed, and most of the time when you're in a sort of controllable slide, say a good track actually to sort of demonstrate that is if you're on Lime Rock Park. It's got moderately high speed corners where you can even when trying to drive at a moderate race pace, getting to some fairly wide slip angles. This car lets you do that in a really enjoyable way. In fact, I was driving earlier with the wet on, with the rain going from rainy to sunny, and it was so nice having the different road grip levels, because obviously Rfactor 2 has a dynamic track as well as its weather system, and with this car you can really handle it in the wet and really feel the difference of character of the car when driving it in the wet and then driving it in the dry, and then having that at the same time due to the dynamic track and the drying line. It was just really, really good fun and a really unique challenge. And I think Rfactor 2 is one of the only sims, or few sims, that actually offers that challenge, and it goes really well with this car. What else can be said about the handling? Oh, the grass. The grass in Rfactor 2, oh dear. The grass is... they might as well just put landmines either side of the track. I can't blame the mod for this. It's just the grass in Rfactor 2 is absurdly slippy, and the curbing as well seems to really destabilise it. I don't actually think the curbing is much of an issue. It's just the grip levels of the grass. I think really actually they make this car a lot harder to drive than it should be in many ways. If you do start going wide, you know, you'll go on the grass a little bit and you'll wonder what's going on. So I don't know if that's just a grip level value with Rfactor 2's grass, but I hope they just change some variables somewhere or do something to fix that. So it's not really fair to say that's a problem with this car. But you do notice driving this, even when against AI, you put the wheel on the grass and you're like, oh, I lost control. So you have to stay away from the grass. But really, just really superb. I'd say it's probably up there with some of the best Rfactor 2 cars. And I mean, I've got a bias towards this car. I've always really loved the Caterham. It's just my type of car. It always begs you. It's one of those cars that, again, just begs you to put more power on the accelerator than you should, and then you end up wildly driving all over the place. But it's fun. It rewards you for doing that. You lose lap time, but you get the enjoyment from it. It's always just egging you on a bit. Now, listening to the sound, putting our ears to the engine, the car sounds pretty nice. I wouldn't say it's the best sounding simulated car, but it is really good. You know, it's a mod car. I don't know what access they had to the sounds. At no point that you're driving it do you think, oh god, this sounds horrendous. I do think at times though it can be a little bit ambiguous as to what specific gear you should be in from the audio alone, and especially when you get towards this sort of 6,000 RPM where I think you're supposed to be shifting with this vehicle. It's not quite clear if you just from the audio if you're racking the engine or if you're at the point of shifting. So I did find myself looking at the speedo a lot more to get my shifts rather than just using the engine note. And I also found that as well towards the low end, especially going from second to third gear on a lot of corners, it can be a little bit ambiguous from the sound. I mean, I'm someone that tends to drive from the sound rather than looking at the speedo. So, you know, if you've got an LED dial and all those other things available to you with a full-on sim rig, it might be less of an issue. But I think that's something that they could probably improve on. But we've just been spoilt though, to be honest, with the sound in simulators like R3E, Automobilista, and even iRacing, that it's a bit unfair to be hypercritical because sound is such a difficult thing. So all in all, Mikey, I believe that's his name, don't know how you say it, has produced a ridiculous mod car for Rfactor 2 that's completely free. Again, it's just pretty crazy what you can get for free when it comes to mods. As we drive straight into that vehicle, he's alright, he's still there. We just, I don't really like AI, you know, they can get out of my way, filthy artificial intelligence. But Mikey's done an incredible job. Definitely make sure if you do get this, as I say, it's on the Steam Workshop, make sure that you send him a message, write a message under it saying, oh, good job, fantastic car. But also star it up and everything so it gets pushed up to the top of the mod list, and you can even send him a message and just thank him for producing something pretty damn fantastic. The only real downside is Rfactor 2 doesn't have VR, so I had to drag my sim rig under the TV again. It's like the 90s. What's this about? 2D gaming. So I don't feel like I can fully appreciate the vehicle in the same way that you can in virtual reality. But VR is coming to Rfactor 2, so we will be there. I think those of you with triple screen setups, though, you know, you'll get to really experience it and enjoy it in its full luster. I just feel when you play a car on a 42-inch screen in front of your rig, or even on a small triple screen setup, you just can't appreciate it in the same way. It's taken away from you. But I try not to go on about VR. We always end up going on about VR. Oh dear, someone's going to come around my place and shove a VR headset up my arse, and they'll find my body in a ditch somewhere. Sim racers are violent people, you've got to be careful. But there you go, that pretty much covers just about anything I can think of with this car. It did just occur to me though, I think at the start of this video I said that it is completely stock. It's not completely stock. It has the option of a limited slip differential. In these videos and from my testing, I was using the default car with default setup, which is what I normally do, because I find that the best way to just get into a car until you get really good with a vehicle and you know you're fully competent with it, or you're actually racing it properly. I find it best to just keep everything stock. I will fiddle with the brake bias, but just about everything else I keep stock until I get comfortable and happy with it and get an understanding for the overall character of the car. But regardless, make sure that you check out in the Rfactor 2 menu. It's kind of weird how it works in Rfactor 2. You can select the different gearboxes and other options if you want to try the LSD for the true hippie experience with this vehicle. Though it might calm it down a bit. I haven't tried it out, but I would have thought the limited slip differential will actually just calm the vehicle down rather than keep it being as exciting without it. So we'll have to give it a try. Can't pass comment on it. I'm just killing everybody. Should have finished the video before this. Now I look completely incompetent, and you can disregard everything I've said through my complete demonstration of irresponsible driving. But there you go, that's pretty much it. I really hope this video has encouraged you, if you've got Rfactor 2, to seek out this mod and get it. I'd be very surprised if you play Rfactor 2 if you haven't already heard of this. If you're on the fence of Rfactor 2, if you like racing against AI, really good simulator. If you like public sim racing like me, it's a little bit dull. And you should probably wait until the new updates come out, because there are quite a few developments occurring with Rfactor 2, which of course we will be covering on the channel as they happen. So I'm actually really excited for that. VR, Rfactor 2. I'm really excited for what they'll probably do with the public service of Rfactor 2 as well. I've heard some whisperings. So there you go. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. Don't forget to like. There, the button's on the screen. Don't die in your sleep. Well, actually, it's probably better to die in your sleep than to die whilst you're awake. I mean, if you had to choose. But I'll see you in the next video we do. We'll be back very soon indeed. Until then, thanks for watching and goodbye.